Salutations friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be on a very expensive bottle of perfume, and it's going to be from Clive Christian and it's Rock Rose. Now I do want to preface that this video is going to be a review, so I'm going to go into the longevity, the projection, how it develops on the skin, but I'm also going to go on to if I think this fragrance is worth the price tag, because it is a staggering $550 for 50 ml. So if you would like to know what I think about this fragrance, how it performs, projects, and if I think it's worth the money, then keep watching. Before we get into this review, this was not sent to me to review, so this review is completely my own. And I was a little hesitant to review it. I'm always very hesitant to review very expensive fragrances on my channel. I'm one of those people that I really find beauty in just about any fragrance. There's very few fragrances that I dislike. There's some I won't buy, there's some that I don't think they're worth the money, but I always tend to like different things about different fragrances. So this is one of those fragrances that I really absolutely enjoyed. I thought it was gorgeous and beautiful and crisp, and so I obviously have a bottle of it. But when I'm doing this review, I want you guys to know that I'm going to be removing my rose-colored glasses when it comes to fragrances, and I'm going to be talking to you a little bit more clinically and logically about this fragrance, but I am going to get into how it smells and how it develops on the skin as well. First, let's start off with the notes, and the notes in these are bergamot, black pepper, neroli, lavender, violet, rock rose, clary sage, cocoa, patchouli, amber, and vetiver. Now, the notes in here that I get the most of on my skin are lavender, violet, rose, and pepper, and I get a bit of kind of like a bitter neroli in the background. The opening is very crisp. It's an oriental masculine fragrance. It's supposed to be more of a unisex fragrance, but it does smell a lot like fragrances that are marketed as oriental men's fragrances. So it does have a lot of familiarity with other popular fragrances out there. But what I like on my skin, I know I'm kind of going off on crazy tangents here, is how this smells. It doesn't smell like something that you would think of if you hear the word rose in it. Now, if you were to hear rock rose, you might think of some really crisp floral fragrance, but there's nothing sweet or floral about this. In fact, what you're getting is more of the qualities of the floral notes rather than any of the actual floral notes. The neroli tends to be a little bit deep and somewhat of a bitter green feeling, almost more petitgrain than neroli. And the rose, you're getting it as a little bit of softness in the background, but you're really getting a very spiced aromatic fragrance here. You get a lot of lavender, you get a lot of violet, you get a lot of sage, and you definitely get a lot of a bright, crisp citrus, specifically in the opening. Now, what I like most about this fragrance is that it smells really nice on the skin. If you're to smell this in the cap, if you're going to smell this on a strip, you're really not going to really appreciate any of the nuances or the little differences between the different spices. It just tends to get lost on a strip. It smells cold and one-dimensional. But once you get it on skin, and I've smelled it on like 8 different people's skins, even onto people's different body chemistries, it doesn't smell the same, but you start to pick up the complex notes. You start to pick out the different layers in this fragrance, and it has a lot of depth to it, which I think is really beautiful. So overall, this is a fragrance that I've actually really enjoyed wearing because it's something that is not normal to my collection, at least. And at the same time, there's a real beauty in its complexity while still being really easy to wear. I would definitely say this is more of a formal fragrance, but I wouldn't say this is an evening fragrance. I actually think this is more of a daytime fragrance. So if you're going on a date or you have something really important to do in the daytime, I feel like this would be a really nice special occasion, daytime or early afternoon, or even maybe a little bit late afternoon fragrance. I don't think it has a lot of the heft, and I don't think that it has a lot of the weight that you would expect for a fragrance to wear in the evening, specifically at formals or maybe nicer occasions. So I would say this is more of a daytime fragrance. But I do love how it sits on the skin. I do love the complex balance between all the different notes, specifically the lavender, the sage, and the violet. I do absolutely adore its crisp, peppery opening. So overall, I really enjoy this fragrance. I love the balance of it. I love how it wears on the skin. And I think it's a real gem of a fragrance and probably my favorite fragrance from Clive Christian. So we're going to go into longevity and production, and then I'm going to tell you guys if I think this is worth the price tag. So the longevity on this fragrance is all right. It's not fantastic for the price, but it's also not bad. I get about 6 to 8 hours of wear on my skin. Now, you guys know in my climate, I live in the tropics, it's very hot, it's very humid. I usually expect 4 to 6 hours, but whenever a fragrance has a price tag of over $300, I do expect it to perform better and be longer lasting than fragrances that are $300 or less. So I would hope for it at least to last about 6 to 8 hours, and it meets that minimum mark. So I will say that it does last, which is really great. The projection of this fragrance actually isn't anything spectacular. It sits close to the skin. It's about arm's length. And the thing with fragrances like this, at least to me, is I do get olfactory fatigue. So after about 2 to 3 hours, I stop smelling it. But if I were to kind of go like this, I would be able to pick up some notes of it. And I do know that my husband and other people around me can smell it after about 6 to 8 hours because I've had people comment and compliment me on this fragrance. Yes, this is one of the few fragrances that people actually compliment me on. And that's saying something because most of the time they run away in fear because most of the people in my life do not like fragrances. So if you're looking for a very loud fragrance, this definitely isn't it. If you're looking for a very long-lasting fragrance, this at least meets my minimum requirements for a long-lasting fragrance. But when you're looking at spending this amount of money, you might want it to be a little bit longer or project a little bit louder. It all depends on what your criteria is for performance when it comes to expensive luxury fragrances. I will say that although this is kind of an aromatic oriental fragrance, sometimes I would steer clear of those in professional environments because this does sit a little bit closer to the skin. I think this would be appropriate in professional settings. So if you're going to a meeting, if you're going to work, if you're going to someplace like a party or the theater and there's going to be a lot of people around you, I think that this would be safe if those people don't like fragrances or it bothers their nose and things like that. So this is a professional appropriate fragrance. Now, I do love the presentation and packaging. I love Clive Christian bottles, and I will say one thing, I am glad that this is not see-through, so it does protect the juice very much. So this is a fragrance that if you purchased, you could put it on display. It would be safe as long as the environment where you lived, it didn't fluctuate too hot or too cold. But if you have a very tempered climate and you want to put this on your vanity or someplace on display, you could do that because the bottle is opaque. So now let's get into if I think this is worth the price point, because it is very, very expensive. But I am going to say that I'm not going to mention any other fragrances specifically by name, but I am going to give you price points. This fragrance I purchased because it is one from Clive Christian I really enjoyed, and I have been trying to diversify my portfolio when it comes to my fragrance collection. So what I'm trying to do is find fragrances and houses that I really admire and adding 1 to 2 fragrances from those houses to kind of round out my collection. It's more from a collecting standpoint, not so much of just a juice standpoint, which is why I have a bottle of this. But let's remove that aspect from it and let me tell you if I think this is worth the price. Not from a collector's point of view, but if you were to purchase a bottle of this, just the juice, remove the name, remove the packaging, just the juice, do I think this is worth $550? The answer to that is a big ol' no. Absolutely not. To be perfectly honest, there are only a few fragrances out there that I think are worth that price point. They're definitely special fragrances. They project a lot louder, they smell a lot more unique, and there's just something about them that sparkles and is extra special. This fragrance is a fantastic, stunning, beautiful fragrance. Do not get me wrong, I love it. And if it wasn't just for everything else about this fragrance that I was looking to add to my collection and round out my collection, I don't know if I would buy this full price MSRP. Now, you can find it on groups, you can find it online cheaper, you can get decants of this, you can get it cheaper. The juice wise I think is exquisite and worth checking out, but full MSRP I think it is ludicrously priced. I think this would be more along the lines of the $250 to $325 mark. I do think it is worth a luxury price point on this fragrance because there is something really special and high quality about the juice. And although it is a very familiar scent and it does smell like fragrances I've smelled before around the $150 to $200 mark, I don't think that everything else about it warrants the extra like $300 to $400 that you would pay for this fragrance. So if you got full presentation, brand new, if it was around $250 to $325, I would say it's definitely worth checking out and picking up full price. But I do not think full price, this is worth it. There are other fragrances from Clive Christian that I do think are worth it. Even though this is my favorite from Clive Christian, again, I'm removing my taste from this and talking to you about the juice, the composition of the juice, how it performs, how it projects, and how unique it smells to other fragrances that are categorized the same way that this one is. So I wouldn't say that this is unique enough. I wouldn't say that this performs well enough. I wouldn't say there's anything about this that makes it worth the extra money other than the packaging and the name. So definitely I would say if you wanted to pay full price for it, I think if you're a collector and you like Clive Christian and you like luxury fragrances, definitely check it out. But I think that if you're looking to get this fragrance and you really liked it and you're wondering if it's worth the money, no. And there are going to be fragrances I am going to tell you that are worth it, that cost this much or more, and I will probably be getting into this later on in the year or sometime next year because I am going to be diversifying my reviews and talking about really inexpensive ones and more luxury ones as well. But this is not one of those fragrances that I think justifies the full MSRP price based purely on the juice, just the juice. But I do really like the fragrance and I have been enjoying wearing it. So I am going to add that this is a positive review, but I don't think it's worth the price point. Again, that is my complete opinion, guys. You can tell me I'm wrong. You can tell me I'm right. I know that when it comes to really expensive luxury fragrances, this gets to be not so much of a hot button issue, but people generally have real legitimate opinions on things like this when in regards to expensive fragrances, if it's worth it, if it's not. I would love to know what you guys think if you've tried this fragrance, if you think I'm giving it too much of a good review, if you think I'm wrong and it's definitely worth the full price, or even if the price I think that it could be worth cheaper is still way too much for it. I would love to have this be a discussion, so let me know in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, guys, if you like my fragrance reviews, remember to give this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue doing videos like this. And also don't forget to subscribe because it's free and I'm free. And I put up new videos every Monday through Friday and sometimes on the weekends as well. So I'll always have something for you to watch. In any case, I hope you guys are all happy and healthy and have a great day, month, year, whatever. And I'll see you next time.